this morning based on the amount of oxygen that was in the submersible that their time had come to an end, even if they were on the ocean floor. Sadly, they had run out of oxygen. Now it is believed that the debris field near the sub's last location indicates that there was some sort of hull disruption, and due to that, at the pressurized atmosphere of 13,000 feet below sea level, you can kind of figure out what happened after that. That has led to a broader discussion about, scuba diving and deep sea diving. And I think I'm thinking of like a diving bell. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting from the super text line, where individuals go down on a diving bell, which is not completely pressurized, I guess, or they go outside of the diving bell and they come back in.
Right.
And if they go outside the diving bell and come back in, then before they go back up to the surface, they have to depressurize. Otherwise, they get decompression sickness, also known as the bends, which is what? That's the
nitrogen
inside of your blood that bubbles up. And what would happen? You'd explode?
No, it filters into your muscles and basically starts to expand, and so it's in very microscopic ways. It's pulling you apart, and where the bubbles start to happen. But why can't they just go down to the debris field and get their cell phones? I'm sure they were filming what was happening.
Yeah, probably so. You're so mean. It's too soon. I often say never too soon, but you're proving me wrong. It might be too soon, Bill. As a master scuba diver, 80 to 120 feet, no problem. You stop at 15 feet for 3 minutes on the way up, but you have a computer that tells you how long you can stay there. The sub was made of 7-inch carbon fiber to withstand the pressure. Well, it's a lot of pressure. Dan writes in and says, man's record 429 feet, also 56-year-old held breath for 25 minutes. That's incredible. Have you seen these free dives? I've seen programs about these free divers they're called free divers, but they go down, they have weighted lines that help them go down and come back up, but they do it just holding their breath. It's insane.
It's nuts. It's David Blaine with talent.
How long do you think you could hold your breath?
Oh, 2.5 minutes, maybe 3.
I don't think you could hold your breath for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I could. I've done it for that long before, and the only reason I couldn't do it for longer is because of all the years of smoking.
I don't know that I could hold my breath more than about a minute and a half.
Yeah, you could.
You want me to try it?
No, you got to talk.
Oh, that's true. Why don't you try it? Why don't you screen this telephone call, and then we'll give a clock on you, and we'll give you a go.
All right.
And when you keel over and pass out, I'll stop the timer.
Stop the
clock. Bubbles in the bloodstream can stop the heart, cause strokes. Haven't you seen the movie Abyss? Maybe. And maybe the movie Abyss is what I'm thinking of. I thought I read a story about a 1970s expedition in a diving bell where something happened in the diving bell, and the person had to get up very quickly or something or another, and because of that, they died. Or they were crushed or something or another. Deep-sea welders use a dive bell. It's pressurized to depth they work at. They bring it to the surface and slowly depressurize on the surface. So there you go. No video on TV. I thought we were on video. I assume that we are currently on video. I think we cut that during the breaks to give me a little time out. And that thing most likely imploded days ago when they lost contact, and they most likely became fish food. I think that's conventional wisdom. Obviously, if there was integrity failure, it was instant. Instant. They didn't sit around. Brandy says there's no live video feed or on. Hey, get some live video feed. We need that. 1239 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there you go. That's everything I know. I would say this final thought on the submarine. There's a lot of people running around saying these folks were crazy. Or you're crazy to skydive. Or you're crazy to whatever. But men, and by men, I mean, let's say mankind, it is in our nature to explore. It is in our nature to push the envelope. It is in our nature to try to find the next thing around the bend. And we do that in a lot of different ways, especially males. The male of the species tends to be a little more competitive than the female. I'm not saying that's an exclusive to the male of the species, but you know what I'm saying. And competition does some of this, creates some of this. And in other ways, it's simply the natural desire to see what is next, whether that is in outer space, whether that's at a mountaintop, or whether it is. And there is a genuine desire to find that adrenaline or to push yourself to the point of your limits and then potentially try to expand those limits to push yourself even further. You never, by the way, it's always been a pet peeve of mine. You cannot push yourself beyond your limits, but you can expand your limits and push further than you thought possible. And that's what it's all about. But like in life, everything on that submarine was fine until it wasn't. And if we don't have contingency plans, then sometimes we suffer the consequences. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I most often, if you meet me on a day-to-day basis, I'm carrying some form of firearm. You will not see that firearm because I choose to conceal carry. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I try to make it as 100% as I can because of that mantra. In life, everything is okay until it's not. And if it's not, are you ready? Are you prepared? And I don't know that we should go through our lives expecting everything to go haywire at a moment's notice, but it is generally good practice to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row should it happen. Now, at 13,000 feet below sea level, that concept is expanded, exponentially in terms of contingency plans and making sure that you've done everything in your power to have redundancy to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Because if something goes wrong at that point, it's catastrophic. More people die in automobile accidents on a regular basis than would ever die in airline crashes. But airline crashes make news. One, they're more rare. But two, often when something goes wrong in that circumstance, it is a fatal error. A lot of times automobile crash is not. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
Planes tend to involve a lot more people, too.
That's true. Everything's okay until it's not. Now, I asked this question in the last hour when I was filling in for the ailing Pamela Furr. Dan Mandis also tag-teamed on that. And I want to ask Belle Kay. There is a story, let me pull this up, regarding lab meat. The geneticists have gotten close to, and the FDA is now approving the concept of, I guess it's the USDA, not the FDA, but that goes hand in hand. Lab-grown meat. The United States government is approving lab-grown meat sales to the public for the first time. Cultivated meat producers Upside Foods and Good Meat received approval from the Department of Agriculture on Wednesday to begin commercially selling their chicken products. The day's finally arrived, they said. On social media, we are approved to sell our cell-cultivated chicken in the United States. The company continued, the historic world-changing moment brings our vision, one giant bite, closer to reality. The final approval comes after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued a no-questions response to Good Meat in March of this year, marking the company's lab-grown chicken product safe to eat. Upside Food received a similar approval in November of 2022. Lab-grown meat producers say the practice of creating consumable meat products through cell cultivation technology eliminates harm to animals and combats environmental impact. Instead of all of that land and all of that water that's being used to feed all of these animals that are being slaughtered, we can do it in a different way, said Eat Just co-founder and executive Josh Tetrick. Just Eat owns and operates Good Meat. Lab-grown meat is created using cells from living animals, such as a fertilized egg, which is incubated and grown into large masses of meat. The product is then cut and restructured into facsimiles of regular butchered meat products. Good Meat is real meat made without tearing down a forest or taking a life. We're the first and only company in the world to sell cultivated meat from cells instead of slaughtered animals. Now, I have a very important question for you, and I want you on the phones. Line them up, 615-737-9986. Would you eat lab-grown cultivated meat? If not, why not? I'd try it. I would have to be convinced that it is as good as, your normal chicken. Now, understand, I do believe that this takes us one step closer to the zombie apocalypse, and here's what I'm saying.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green is people. I don't want to ruin the movie, but that's true.
Damn it.
I'm sorry. Charlton Heston, he screamed it. Soylent is people. And then I think he became Soylent Green. Did he? Did they take him off?
But I'm on your side, though. I think it would depend on the texture and the taste. And if it's, if you like it,
why not?
We eat weirder stuff if you think about it.
Yeah. We eat a lot of weird stuff. And I would say this, too. So if you're like a lot of people, no, hell no, gosh, no, wouldn't do it in a million years, no. Do you eat turkey? Do you eat domesticated turkey? You understand that we have genetically altered turkeys to make their breasts bigger. It's got to be guys doing this. But anyway, we make their breasts bigger because we like breast meat. And we've done so to the point that domesticated turkeys cannot
mate.
They
have to be artificially inseminated.
Because they don't have the ability because their breasts are too big.
Right. And there is actually a job on turkey farms where a person is responsible at certain times of the year for inseminating the females.
Her breasts are so big, she cannot mate.
Well, his are.
Oh, that changes it. That makes it skeevy. See,
skeevy.
I don't know. The breasts are so big they cannot mate, which is a sentence you would never say about humans.
That is true.
I was just trying to get to the punchline. And that, insert your own joke there. Before we go, Ken is in Dixon, wants to talk submarines. Hey, Ken, it's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday on Thursday. How are you?
Hey, man, good. Just a quick little comment about, I think on the submarine people, you were kind of referring to them as explorers. I think that's kind of a misnomer. I believe they're just sightseers, what they were. The exploring's already been done when they found the Titanic. That's kind of a whole different.
Well, I don't know, and if I said that, I stand corrected. I did not mean. I was talking about exploration more broadly, but yes, they are more thrill seekers.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're explorers in the same way. They're not, because if you go to Mount Everest, you're not exploring new territory. You're just a thrill seeker and a mountain climber.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little more, if you go exploring and you get into trouble, then there's a reason, more of a reason than you're just down there gawking at the Titanic.
This, and I know that I'm my brain is all over the place today, but you saying that about exploration reminded me of if anyone's ever done a deep dive into the explorations of Lewis and Clark, it is absolutely fascinating what they were able to accomplish. You ask yourself, what happened when they come across a huge river that they have to get across? You know what they did? They chopped down trees and made canoes, is what they did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They adapted and modified.
No doubt. And everything was fine, and I stand by this, and you can look it up. Thanks, Ken, for the call. You can look this up.
It wasn't until they got into Wyoming where they were able to get on an interstate, was it?
Yeah, they've got more cell phone towers out there. So, no, everything was fine. I read in college, it was either Meriwether Lewis or the other one. I read in college a biography, of the travels, like a journal, the diary. I want to say it was Meriwether Lewis, the diary of Lewis, but it could have been Clark. And they took 40 barrels of liquor with them. And everything was fine while the liquor was there. But when everything was, we adapt, we overcome. As soon as the liquor ran out, everything went to crap.
So you're saying things got rough after the second week?
I think that's all about attitude, don't you? I mean, I just think, no matter how bad this gets, at least we've got this. What? We're out? Are you kidding me?
I have to hang out with you?
This is awful. Sacagawea looks awful. I know. Don't tell me. I know that. Don't tell me. 1250 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More and more people are turning to podcast for forms of entertainment. I got a pretty good one. Steve Abramowitz does it. It's called the Mill Creek View Tennessee Podcast. They do a lot of stuff regarding Franklin. That's where they're located, down in Franklin. But all across Tennessee, people are listening. All across the United States of America, people are listening and watching. As a matter of fact, the Tennessean calls Steve and Mill Creek View Tennessee Podcast a conservative advocacy podcast. I would agree with that, but it's so much more. They're frequently the number one show on politics in Podomatic. You can find them anywhere that you find your podcast, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and the like. But they're more than just politics. They talk sports, culture, entertainment. They have authors on, artists on all the time. Steve is also CEO and editor-in-chief of the Mill Creek View newspaper. And you're invited to go there and check that out at mcview.us. That's mcview.us. And check out the podcast. It's called Mill Creek View. You can even find me there. Mill Creek View with Steve Abramowitz. Check it out. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 12:58. I'm getting a lot of great response over the submersible talk. There's a press conference scheduled for 2 o'clock this afternoon with additional information. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at the one more update, and then I have a much different question for you coming up at the 1 o'clock hour. By the way, Scott Sapicki, is this public knowledge? Can I talk about?
He didn't ask me not to say anything. I would assume it's public knowledge.
Okay, so he was at an event at Cordell Hull.
Yeah, he was at their offices.
And what happened?
There was a hazmat situation. He said that he can't leave because they're in the middle of dealing with, in his words, a hazmat situation.
That's downtown.
Somebody sent leadership, again, his words, what they believe is hazardous material.
This is happening right now?
Yeah. That's why he wasn't able to leave the building to get here for his interview.
At the legislative offices?
Yes.
Well, that's big news. We might be breaking that news, as far as I know. So Sapicki would be here at 1, but for that. And they're locked down right now?
He didn't use those words, but that was the way it came across to me.
Tell you what, see if you can reach out back to him and see if he can come on at 1 via phone just to tell us what's going on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Right after the top of the hour news. We've got that. We've got another update coming up in just a couple of minutes from now as well. And they're now saying that it's definitive that they've determined that this is the Titan submarine. So news conference coming up in about an hour. Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A possible turning point in the search for 5 people on board a missing tourist sub. The Coast Guard says an underwater roving search vessel discovered a debris field near the Titanic wreckage. That debris now being examined. Crews have been searching a zone off the coast of Nova Scotia since the sub vanished Sunday. ABC's Gio Benitez has more.
When they say debris field, they haven't said exactly what it is. We haven't seen a photo. We don't know if it's been positively identified. But for the U.S. Coast Guard to actually tweet out that they've found a debris field, it's not a good sign, and it suggests that there's some level of confidence here in what they have found.
Oxygen on board that sub was also due to run out today. President Biden at the White House holding a joint briefing with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. It follows bilateral meetings that included security concerns over China, the war in Ukraine, and trade. The president says the two nations share a bright future.
Partnership that is among the most consequential in the world, that is stronger, closer, and more dynamic than any time in history.
The Bidens will host a state dinner tonight. Details of who posted the $500,000 bond for GOP Congressman George Santos unsealed today in court documents.
It was George Santos' father and aunt who guaranteed his $500,000 bond. The unsealed court document names them as Gersino Santos and Elma Santos Preven. George Santos posted bond after pleading not guilty to a 13-count indictment accusing him of fraud, money laundering, and theft of public funds. Santos' attorney previously said Santos preferred to go to jail rather than name his bail backers, arguing they could be harmed. But a judge sided with news organizations, including ABC, that the names should be public. Lindsay Watts, ABC News, Washington.
264,000 Americans filed for first-time jobless claims last week. That number unchanged from the previous 2 weeks. You're listening to ABC News.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
Deadly storms and extreme heat hitting parts of Texas.
Every day, the parallel economy grows bigger and bigger. It's powered by Americans like you who are sick and tired of all of the woke propaganda being jammed down our throats and into every product that we consume. And frankly, we don't want that in our free market experience. Big mobile companies are no different. For years, they've been dumping millions into leftist causes. Do you want to minimize the amount of money you're giving those companies? Here's a good way to do it. Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, offering dependable nationwide coverage on all three major networks. They don't pretend that they don't do a certain level of business with some of these woke companies, but they minimize the amount of money that they spend with them. They minimize the amount of money that you spend with them, and they bring the point to bear that we want good quality, reliable mobile service and sending a message that you support the values that made America great, like free speech, religious freedom, sanctity of life, and the Second Amendment. That's what it's all about. It's a 100% U.S.-based customer service team. Now, you support those things, and you believe in those things, but you would not make the switch if this were not reliable, dependable coverage like you've become accustomed to, and it is. You also can keep your phone and keep your number. Go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy. That's patriotmobile.com/Murphy. Free activation, I should say, with the offer code Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y. 878-PATRIOT, 878-PATRIOT. It's Patriot Mobile. I invite you to switch and use my name when you do. patriotmobile.com/Murphy. .106, good afternoon. Welcome in as the Matt Murphy Show continues. I jump in on the theme there because we've got a number of late-breaking stories that we can discuss, and I'm getting to each and every one of them. One, if you're just joining us, maybe you were out of pocket, you were at your place of business, unable to listen, and you're just tuning into the radio, either in your automobile, your home, or your place of business, for that matter. We thank you for that. Matt Murphy here till 3, The Drive with Brian Wilson at 3 o'clock until 7 this afternoon. Couple of things. One, we were anticipating a conversation with Scott Sapinki right now, and that will not happen due to a lockdown at Cordell Hull. Apparently, according to WSMV, the Tennessee GOP, several lawmakers received letters containing unknown powdery substances in their offices. And Scott Sapinki was at that office when the hazmat teams arrived, and they're asking everybody to kind of remain in place there. We're trying, and just, hit him up every couple of minutes. Text him or whatnot and see if he can get on with us to tell us what's happening over there at Cordell Hull, if that's at all possible. Sources say offices and people inside the building have been instructed to not open their mail, to stay in their offices until further notice. And that was about 10 minutes ago, according to WSMV television. And we, believe it or not, had it a little in advance, in as much as we were contacting Scott to confirm his appearance, and he let you know what
I can't leave.
Can't leave the building right now. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to him in the next few minutes.
Apparently, this Biden press conference with the Indian Prime Minister is to announce that within the next 10 years there'll be 1 billion people in India.
Yeah, that's about right. It's about right.
Sort of like Africa.
So, speaking of Joe Biden and the Indian PM, apparently the Prime Minister of India was set to address or already has a joint session of Congress, and your girlfriend has said that she's not going to be there. Have you heard this?
Yeah, look, I love the woman. I'm completely enamored with her, but when she talks, I tune out, so I don't know what she said.
She said that she's going to stand against the Indian Prime Minister. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I just got distracted. Someone on the super text line, 7434, says, tell Matt to contact William Lamberth if he can. If Sapicki's not available, I just got off the phone. Well, then you need to call William back and tell him to call us, because William has never shared his cell phone with me. I don't know why, but in order to reach William, we'd have to go through gatekeepers. And, I mean, God bless him. I'm not accusing him of anything, but I don't have a direct contact to William. So I would implore you, 7434, to go ahead and call William and tell him to call us on the hotline. We'd love to hear what's happening downtown right now. Downtown is an absolute security mess right now.
Send us his phone number on the super text. We'll call him.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you send me. That's a greater idea. That's a better idea. So 7434, go ahead and pop over to your super text line. That's a private line. No one else but Bell K and myself will see that. Just pop us William's number right there, and we'll call him up, and we'll see what the hell's going on at Cordell Hull. That seems pretty frightening. So, powdery substances typically are found to be non-life-threatening, but you never know. Remember the anthrax scare of a number of years ago in Washington, D.C. Have to take these types of things seriously, and obviously they're taking it seriously in downtown right now. Oh, look, I just got one from a good friend. Look, ask and he shall receive. So I'll go ahead and create that new contact, and I'll share that with you, and we'll get to it in just a moment. So we're monitoring that situation. In the meantime, Jay St. Clair will be at 1:30. There's a press conference at 2 o'clock that we'll carry at least portions of for you live regarding the submersible. A lot of attention. A lot of attention being paid to that. I'm not laughing at the fact that the submersible debris has been found. I'm laughing at a text message that I just received. It appears that this was, in fact, the submersible. There was a major hull breach, and that led to, we'll wait for the press conference, but it appears that led to immediate disruption of the sightseeing journey. 615-737-9986. In the absence of Scott, we invite you to be a part of the show. It's First Amendment Freestyle Friday on Thursday. I'm out tomorrow. You can also super text us on the super text line, 615-737-9986. I got a lot of responses from my question, would you eat some of this lab-made meat? And a lot of people are screaming no. And I'm wondering, what if everything tastes like chicken? I don't know why this wouldn't, so count me in, says Rocco. 7866 says, hunt. I've hunted everything that's walked or crawled at one time or another. My grandfather put me through my paces. We were regular deer hunters, dove hunters, duck hunters, turkey hunters. We went off the grid and did rabbit and squirrel, just quail. My granddad had dogs over the years. I've hunted just about everything at one time or another. I choose not to hunt. It's more about time management than anything. And I don't get any people that hunt. I love you hunters. I'm not against you, but I do not have a bloodlust inside of me. And I think there has to be a certain level of that. considering the ability that you have to just go pick out your meat without killing it yourself. But I've done it all. I've killed it. I've skinned it. I've set it. I mean, we had a refrigerator out in my grandpa's kitchen that was, during deer season, solely designed to drain in a refrigerated environment after the kill. So I'm not speaking from a lack of experience. I'm just telling you that I don't have any desire to kill my food myself.
I grew up with a number of relatives, like cousins and uncles and aunts and all that stuff, who had deep freezers in their garage for no other reason than to store the meat that they had gone out and hunted themselves.
Yeah. I mean, no, we never, my grandpa bought beef and it was to mix.
That's a little harder to hunt.
Well, the only time we ever bought beef is the point was he would mix it with his deer hamburger. He would make deer burger.
Just to make it go farther?
Well, to make it fattier because the deer was so lean. And he would also do that with, we had deer sausage, we had deer steak. It was all, red meat came from deer. We didn't buy food like that. Turkey, when we had Thanksgiving, my grandmother had to insert herself and make my grandfather let her buy a store-bought turkey for Thanksgiving. On Christmas, we had turkey too, but that was always wild turkey. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't have anything for it. What I'm fascinated about, though, are the number of people that are saying, no, this is messing with nature too much. No, this is messing with nature too much. Safe to eat is a pretty low standard. 2623 says, I'll never eat turkey again. Well, you got to know where you're coming from.
Have you ever seen a banana that came out of the wild?
Yeah. They're itty-bitty.
They're itty-bitty. They're chocked full of seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever goes, well, we're messing with nature too much.
Yeah, that's my point, is what do you think we've been doing with chicken production? Chickens are not supposed to grow as...
Crops...
Fryer chickens grow way faster
than
bigger. They're supposed to, and bigger. When you go to Sam's, I'm not trying to peel the curtain back too much.
When Garth Brooks goes to get his fried chicken at Publix,
those chicken breasts are not supposed to be that big, but they are. Chickens are not supposed to look like they look at the Sam's Club when you buy that whole rotisserie. We've already done a lot to screw with nature. It's interesting to me. I'm not judging you as a result. It's just interesting to me that where we all draw the line. 3344, no lab-grown meat for me. We try to avoid as much of the GMO food as possible. We just processed our own chickens. Now, that's how to do it naturally. You hunt for your own food, like the Super Texter said, and you raise your own chickens. And if you raise your own chickens, odds are you can get away from a lot of the genetically modified stuff, which is what you're getting if you go to the store and buy your food. They're going to be putting the jabby jab into the meat soon. Right, so 360, maybe. I ate Spam for years, and I believed it when my dad told me that it stood for scientifically produced animal matter. My father told me that Spam was created in a lab. I believed that for years, and I continued to eat Spam, and I still eat Spam to this day. I don't know. Now I know that it's not created in a lab, but that didn't keep me from eating it before. I'd probably eat some of that chicken grown in a laboratory. Well, good for you, 3565.
Mechanically separated.
Yeah. Mechanically separated. That's the potted meat. And then Jeff said, it's not natural. I don't know that it's any less natural than the food we're getting out of the grocery store.
Beefsteak tomatoes aren't natural.
No. Tomatoes aren't supposed to look like that.
Not at all.
Not in nature. Oranges?
Yeah.
You think oranges are supposed... you think oranges grown in nature look like that?
No.
I've grown tomatoes in my house, and I can never get my tomatoes to be
We have intentionally mutated almost all of the crops that we farm for food.
And by the way, thank God.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
There are millions of people that have lived lives because of what we have done to provide more food.
No matter what the left will tell you, I'm here to tell you that we live on planet Earth at a time better than any other human beings in the history of planet Earth. We have less starvation on planet Earth than at any other time in the history of planet Earth. And don't at me, fight me. This is without question. Without question. Even as the doomsdayers proclaim that we're seconds away from Earth ending as we know it for human beings, we are better off right now than we have ever been, and it's not even close. Not even close.
The climate apocalypse is happening this year because Greta Thunberg told us back in 2018 we had 5 years left, so it's done, man. We're over.
I mean, I don't know. I guess Greta is the prophet that Al Gore told us that in 2005, I explained that we have 10 years to stop it.
I'm trying to warn everybody, and nobody takes me serious.
Nobody took me serious about the lockbox and the Social Security, and nobody took me serious about the climate change.
Cereal.
Pardon me, cereal. Thank you, Belkay. I'll tell you what, Al Gore will throw it back to you, and we'll get to these telephone calls in a moment. It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. Tennessee Men's Clinic has 2 locations to serve you. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. That's a relatively new thing. They just opened a new facility in Franklin. Tennessee Men's Clinic is all about your health, gentlemen. They want to help you. If you're feeling sluggish, run down, if you don't feel yourself, if you just can't have that verve or enthusiasm in the bedroom, if your bedroom activities are something like skydiving, you see, that's a callback to an earlier reference, probably lost on most of you, but not on some. If your bedroom activities leave a little wanting, there's no shame in that game, guys. I mean, most men, or at least about half of men, at some point in their life will go through this. Why not get to somebody that's discreet and can fix it? That's Tennessee Men's Clinic. They can fix what ails you. Even if it's just an energy level and you don't have any bedroom issues, you need to go to the Tennessee Men's Clinic as well because they can diagnose you, take a little blood work, look over that blood work, and develop a plan of action that is going to lead to incredible success. It's the Tennessee Men's Clinic, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Or give them a call, schedule an appointment today. 2 locations, I mentioned that, one in Midtown Nashville and the other in Franklin, Cool Springs. It's 615-208-9090, 208-9090, Tennessee Men's Clinic. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Matt Murphy Show in progress. Jay Sinclair coming up at 1:35. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday on Thursday. It is also Friday on Thursday. In the 2 o'clock hour, there's an anticipated press conference update. The Coast Guard is going to update us on what they've discovered at the bottom of the ocean, and it is bad news. We held out hope and prayed, but we understood that the astronomical odds were against those 5. And it appears that they're all deceased. 123, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, asking ye shall receive. I've got some comments on lab meat and whether or not you would be willing to consume. A lot of people are like, no. I'm like, well, you're kind of already are, really. Andrew, what do you think about all of this? Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, so eventually, we're all going to have to try this, and I'm eager to try it. But I can't imagine it being any better than a McChicken or some McNuggets, and it's just a pink goo, right? And so my question is, just like the EVs, what's the cost that we are using? It takes 600,000 gallons to make 1 ton of lithium. What does it take to make a chicken breast?
As a concept to, quote, save the planet, it's garbage. It's trash. And that's kind of what you're alluding to, because I don't know the answer to that, but I'd be willing to bet that it takes a lot of effort in a laboratory to make a chicken when, you know what, we can make a chicken naturally with a little pen in our backyard and a little bit of chicken feed, right?
Amen. And it probably costs $72 for 1 chicken breast.
Well, we'll find out, but as a concept, I don't mind it, because I think we've already we've already genetically altered our food to the point where I don't know that we would recognize what a chicken looked like when we first saw a chicken on Earth. But you're right. They're doing this in the spirit of, we're going to save the animals and save the people because we're going to save the environment. That's a load of hooey.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it has any nutritional benefits at all anyway.
Hey, the claim is, and I just read the preliminary report. Thank you, Andrew, for the call. The claim is that it has the same type of nutritional benefit as any other chicken. It comes from chicken. They take cells from living chickens, and they, in a Petri dish, build more chicken meat. But it's not, that's where it's kind of gross, because it's just a blob of chicken meat that they then have to structure to look like actual chicken.
So if life begins at conception, isn't that chicken murder?
Why don't you use your cell phone to go to the bottom of the ocean and figure that out? Why don't you skydive with your cell phone to the bottom of the ocean?
To the bottom of the ocean.
Call me with the answer when you get back.
Oh, my God, that visual is so funny.
When Belle and I, when you and I first got together, I didn't know how to take you. And now let's just roll with it. Okay, fine.
We just have an extremely similar sense of humor.
Let's just take those aborted chicken fetuses and get on our submarine and go.
Go to the top of Everest.
They got oxygen up there. Adam is next in Columbia. Hey, Adam. How are you? Hope you're
Good,
well.
Matt. Thanks for taking my call. I have a unique view on this. I absolutely would not eat the fake meat. And my reason behind it is I grew up farming. I work in the farm industry right now, and there are a ton of jobs that could affect. We hear so much about genetically modified organisms. You guys are hitting the nail on the head. There's not a plant or an animal alive that we domesticate for food that has not been genetically modified in some instance. And, we talk about antibiotic-free meats and things like that. That just means you're eating sick animals. So, I don't think it's going to help anything. The biggest challenge that we have now in agriculture is the increasing population and feeding that population with the land mass that we have now that's ever shrinking because of the population growth. So it could be beneficial from that standpoint, but I'll never eat it.
But you agree with me, though, Adam, or maybe you don't. I don't want to presume it, but I made a pretty declarative statement that on June 22nd, 2023, human beings got it better from a food perspective than we've ever had.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, by far.
Yeah, it's not even close. And but your concern, and rightly so, is like the resources remain limited. The resources are finite, and as the population continues to grow, we've got to come up with new and different ways to ensure that we can continue to feed the population. And I mean, so I would kind of toss it back to you. Isn't this potentially one of those ways?
It could be, but I think our time is better spent getting more pounds per acre from our crops to better the genetics of the livestock that we're dealing with. When you get into a fake meat, I mean, it's a product to me that just doesn't seem marketable. Who wants to eat something, fake meat? When I eat a steak, I want to sit down and eat a steak.
But here's where I don't. Is it fake meat? It's lab grown meat. But I don't know. I mean, like the Impossible Burger. I had one of those, right? That
right.
patty. That's fake meat. That is genetically designed food product that is specifically designed to replicate meat, but it's not meat, and they don't even claim that it is. But
let's try this analogy. Would you buy your wife a lab-grown diamond or a real one?
Buddy, I was born at night, but I was not born last night. I'm not. Adam, this is the first time I've ever done this on my radio show. I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that it might.
I've done it. I've stumped Matt Murphy.
Have a good weekend, friend. Genetically modified. I'm not buying a Diamel. Isn't that what they used to call? Remember, they used to have the late night ads for, it's a Diamel, and they would challenge you that you couldn't tell the difference between a real diamond. A Diamel. Remember those? I guess maybe that's a fair analogy. But I would clap back on this idea that this is fake meat. This is not fake meat. It's just made in a lab. It's when they're done, it's real meat.
It's fair to call it unnatural, but it's not fake.
Yeah, it's not like tofu or
Right.
or the Impossible Burger. I mean, that nobody ever claimed that was red meat.
Right.
It was food designed to taste and have the consistency of red meat.
And they failed.
It's close, man. I ate a Whopper with the Impossible meat in it, and I mean, just circumstances being the same. If you handed it to me and told me it was a Whopper, I might think, it's weird how they cooked this or something. But I don't know that I would go, not meat.
Did you get extra cheese and extra ketchup?
I mean, I got all the stuff on it. Sure. I mean, you got to cover up that taste to somehow.
Oh, speaking of too soon, I just sent you a quote tweeted something to you, so you need to see that when we're in a break.
A chemical castration for all pedophiles. That's a subject that's coming up at some point during the show, too. No, don't tell them.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you ruined it. I was going to set it up and ask if people would be agreeable to this, but yeah, that's
Japan.
Oh yeah, sure.
Antarctica.
Yeah. With some of Antarctica, they were successful. 131 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the incredible weekend of the summer, and I want you to be a part of it. It's the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix happening the 4th through the 6th, August 4th through the 6th, that is, in downtown Nashville. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is the IndyCar event that races through the streets of Nashville. Cars will go over 200 miles per hour, fast-paced and incredible through the downtown streets. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is the 4th through the 6th, playing host to 3 days of racing food, racing music, food, racing, and more racing. The course is designed to challenge those drivers, but it is just an eye-catcher for the spectators as well. Fan favorite is returning with the high-flying stadium super trucks. Tons and tons of racing capped off with the Sunday NTT IndyCar Series racing through downtown. Don't miss the party of the year. Grab your tickets. 3 days tickets are still on sale. Premium hospitality is still available for you as well. It's a one-of-a-kind event, and it's a must-attend. Get amped. The Music City Big Machine, I should say, Music City Grand Prix. MusicCityGP.com. That's MusicCityGP.com for tickets. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Matt Murphy Show continues. It's 1:37. We will have a conversation in a couple of minutes with our good friend Jay St. Clair, who is anxiously anticipating a Friday edition on Thursday. That's coming up in just a moment. I'm a little discombobulated because I'm trying to scramble and do a little on-site producing. Several of you are asking what's going on downtown, and I'll tell you, there has been a scare downtown at Cordell Hull, and we don't know what the nature of the scare is, but we know this, that sources are saying that lawmakers, specifically lawmakers within the Tennessee GOP, have received letters that have contained an unknown powdery substance. Offices and people inside said offices have been locked down, instructed not to open their mail, instructed to stay into their offices until further notice. That's really all I have at this time, but a lot of people have been locked down. The 6th floor of the Cordell Hull building is on lockdown while Homeland Security and first responders investigate the incident. All other employees and members of the building are safe. No one has been harmed. However, we now know that someone received, or multiple someones, I am told, in leadership with the Republican Party in the state of Tennessee. According to Press Secretary Jennifer Easton, several Tennessee House Republicans received threatening letters containing an unknown white powder. Easton says the letters contained threats made by, quote, liberal activists, specifically targeting Republicans, because these people love democracy, after all. The 6th floor of the Cordell Hull building is on lockdown, and first responders investigating the incident. All other city employees and members in the building are safe. We need to try to get a hold of Scott Sapicki, or I've got a number for William Lamberth as well. We'll try to I'll try to forward you that number, Bell. We'll try to get him on the line because this is this might substantially encumber individuals from getting in and out of downtown. But I'll send this along to you and see if you can't contact Lamberth as well. I know you're trying to get a hold of Sapicki. It might be a little difficult, but we'll try to do that. In the meantime, normally you hear the man on Fridays, but today is my Friday, and so it is Friday.
Good morning, Americans.
It's also not morning.
It's Friday.
Or Friday. But it's Friday somewhere. Jay St. Clair joins us for at least the rest of this hour. It's a busy, busy day. Been a crazy Thursday so far. Jay, how's it going, my friend? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm great. I just hope you don't call this Friday Eve.
Ugh, gross. No, not me. I've been on it. Jay, it is a losing campaign. I've been on a campaign to eliminate Friday Eve because I think Thursday is a perfectly good word to describe today.
Yeah.
And why does Friday get all of the accolades? It's a work day for most people, right? So
used to be pre-pandemic. It was. Well, I'm not so sure anymore.
You know what I mean? I mean, why don't we call Friday Saturday Eve? I mean, wouldn't that make more sense? But I heard a worse one today, and I hesitate to even bring it up. But there was a morning show. It was a television station in Nashville, and their morning show, encouraging people to listen, invited them to join them for Baby Friday. You see what they did there, Jack? See, Baby Friday will grow up and become Friday.
Cool Friday.
And it made me want to get into my car and drive and find the person that wrote that tweet and smack them. Now, I know I can't do it. Jay, I know I can't do that. You've taught me as my lawyer, I'm not allowed, but I wanted to.
No, but it's good to be in touch with yourself and realize that was probably a
Hey, I apologize for interrupting, guys. Scott Sapicki is going to join us at 2:05.
2 o'clock. Okay, very good. Thank you. Sorry, Jay. We got a little lockdown going on here. I don't know if you've been able to listen, but some of our GOP legislators have been in lockdown for about 45 minutes now at the Cordell Hull building because of a suspicious white powdery substance found in envelopes.
Oh, my word.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's sad that you have to take all that very seriously, but you got to take it all very seriously, as you well know. We live in weird times.
21st century is not turned out like I thought it would, man.
Jay, I have a question for you, and it's completely unrelated to the law. Oh, look, there you Did you get him? Did you get him a new sound?
Bell?
Bell got you a new sounder.
Hilarious.
No, that's just the Jetsons car getting shot down. He said the 21st century didn't turn out like he expected.
I want from now on, when you hear Jay start, that's one of Jay's one of my more favorite phrases of Jay St. Clair's he taught me that concept. And I think the first time you said it was when we were going round and round about COVID, something or another, or masks. But Jay, I want you to say the phrase again. I want you to kind of crank up the Jetson car right when he's in the middle of saying it. Try to time it so it crashes right when he's done. Ready? All right, Jay, go.
Bell.
That's funny. Poor Jetson.
Oh, it's crashing.
You hear the missiles go off, and then it hits the car.
Yeah, it crashed right at the end. I think they're shooting it down. Jay Wood, 2 questions. And I'm very curious where your mind space is on this because I know you so well. Would you knowingly eat a steak?
No.
Okay.
No. Steak, chicken, shrimp, no. I don't eat lamb food, man. No.
I didn't even get it out.
No.
Okay. That answers that question. Question number 2. Would you get inside of a submersible and go to the bottom of the ocean?
Man, you know the answer to that question.
I think it's no.
2 miles. I was just having this conversation with someone in my office. I have actually been 2 miles underground, man, in a deep shaft coal mine. You know, we got deep shaft coal mines here in central Alabama. And I was out there. I represented Jim Walter Resources, and we had a case of the coal mine. And you always have to go to the scene of the crime. And so I went 2 miles deep into the earth, and that was a pretty spooky experience. Closest thing I can remember to that is I think we all went in the Hoover. Is it the Hoover Dam?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember when we went inside the Hoover Dam?
I do. In the interior of the Hoover Dam.
And that was kind of spooky.
It was.
But no, there's no way that I would go 2 miles deep in the ocean. I would not go in a NASA vehicle 2 miles underneath the ocean. Nope, wouldn't do it.
Would you get in a race car that could orbit the sun if there was a chance it might fall into the sun?
In the drop of a hat, I would get in any race car anywhere to drive any track, including around the sun.
Would you get into a submarine shaped like a race car if I told you that there was a track on the bottom of the ocean?
This is brilliant.
I will tell you this. I will never stand at the edge of the Hoover Dam and look over on the deep side.
One of the most fascinating experiences of my life was watching Jay on the top of the Hoover Dam state emphatically that he wanted to look over on the slope side of the dam. He wanted to see. He wanted to fight his demons because Jay has a fear of heights, and he wanted to fight that and take a look. And your brain said yes, and your body said, oh, no, sir. Not
your body won.
Body won. Although I think your brain eventually won because you did jump out of a perfectly operational aircraft.
Well, here's the other part of it, Bill, because my fear of heights is pretty well known down here around here. And so Dustin Chandler's this police officer who's kind of disabled all over. He's running a charity thing. And he does a skydive. And Matt had done it. And he does say, you ought to do this, you ought to do this. And we could figure out what year it was, man. It was during the low. It was a Derek Dooley period probably or something like that. And I said, man, I'll tell you what I'll do. If Tennessee starts the season 4-0, I will skydive with you. And, being a lawyer, I had all this planned out, right, Bill? You know who the 4th game was? Florida.
And you knew.
And this was back when they had won 7 or 8 in a row.
Y'all were supposed to get destroyed by Florida, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. I said, there's no way this is going to happen. And sure enough, they beat. I don't know. It wasn't a Butch or Derek. I don't know. I can't remember their names now. But they went 4-0, and I jumped out of an airplane.
You made good on it. I was proud of my brother. He made good on it. He overcame that, but I think I advised you correctly that the nature of what we did that day was so ridiculous, absurd.
Right.
It's like you're just an actor in a movie.
Yeah, no, or it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, actually, come to think of it, man, we jumped at 12,000 feet.
Oh,
we were way up there. That's the exact distance these goomers were below the surface of the ocean. Oh, no.
That's a long way down. Now, you taught me something. I was exactly today years old when I learned this. I did not know that coal mines went 2 miles under the ground.
Yep, they get some deep shaft coal mines down here. The coal's just deep.
They go to where the coal is.
Well, I get it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, the mines out west they're much more shallow. I think like Colorado and so forth, they're less than 1,000 feet deep, but that's just where the coal is. We got to go get it. 2,000 feet underneath the ground it's eerie.
I just had an alert listener on the super text line send me a photo of a submarine, and Bell's looking at it as well, and it looks like a race car. It's got a fin on it, it looks exactly like a race car. I'm going to send you this. That's pretty good. Jay, all of our pleasantries, we're winding down and getting out of time here, but before we lose our time, any overall thoughts on this Hunter Biden stuff? I mean, it just, on the heels of the Trump indictment, it just galvanizes in so many people's minds. But that's all perception, right? I mean, I assume the Department of Justice is allowed to do it. Obviously, they are. But any thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I do have a lot of thoughts. And yes, the perception clearly is that there's 2 tiers of justice in this country right now, man. It's just, I think most reasonable people would draw that conclusion from it. Particularly, you look at the January 6th outcomes of plea bargains and what apparently is going to happen here. Now I will say this. It's the first, right? It's the first time a sitting president's close family member has been charged with a federal crime. But should that, let me ask you this. This might be the right way to phrase it, but if you only have 2 choices, let me ask you this way. If you only have 2 choices, and you're the judge and you're sentencing the sitting president's son, do you intentionally be lenient or do you intentionally be more harsh? And I'm taking away the option of saying, no, I'm just treating you.
Right. No, I get it. I understand exactly. So I have 2 options. I can be more lenient or more harsh.
Because he is the president's son.
I am going to be more harsh.
I am too. And I think that's what's the best for the country.
I want to show the American people that the justice system, whether it's true or not, I want to demonstrate, if I'm the judge, that the justice system works the same for everybody, no matter who you are.
No, I think that's right. And, of course, here's the reality of it is the judge does not have to accept this plea agreement. He's going to plead guilty. The way it works in federal court is really interesting, man. It's not like state court. When you plead guilty, the judge will ask you, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes, I am. And you said that under oath on record. And then the judge says, all right, and do you understand, I'm not bound by the agreement you have reached with the U.S. attorney. I don't have to follow that sentencing agreement. I can enter my own sentence. Do you understand that? Yes, I understand that. And so it's not a foregone conclusion that you're not going to get any jail time.
Gosh, this is not just because of our friendship and the good times we have, but this is the reason I have you on the air, because I did not realize that the judge was not bound by any sort of agreement made by the prosecution and Hunter Biden.
Yep. No, that's the way it works in federal court.
And so Hunter Biden is expected to, when he makes his appearance in court, admit his guilt because he did it, not because he got a plea deal. He's going to be expected to admit that he did it.
Yeah, and the judge's going to ask him, do you plead guilty? Yeah, and are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? And if he doesn't say yes, if he says no, then the judge's going to say, I don't think, then I'm not going to accept your plea. In federal court, the only reason you can plead guilty is if you are guilty.
It makes sense. Right. Yeah. Because in state, and just to explain, in a state situation, in criminal situation, I might plead guilty specifically to get less time, I guess.
Right, exactly. Or to avoid the cost of defense. And, I may be charged with capital murder. I may be looking at going to the death penalty, and they give me a 5-year deal. And I didn't do it. But
I think they're going to get me one way or the other. Right.
Right. And it's going to cost me $1 million that I ain't got.
Oh, man. Well, that's great, valuable information on the heels of learning that, A, Jay's not about to eat a lab-grown steak. He's not about to go to the bottom of the ocean. He would go to the Hoover Dam again, but he's probably not going to look over. But he'd get in any race car known to man. That's a pretty fair summary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Jay, before you know it, I'll see you, my friend. All right?
I look forward to it, man.
All right, we'll see you soon. There's Jay St. Clair joining us for a few good moments. We'll come back with Representative Scott Sapicki, who's stuck, I believe, at Cordell Hull as we speak. That's after this. Nashville Painting Company wants to paint your house, and guys, you need to get it done. It's a fact of the matter that the paint will chip, it will fade, and it is time to get a new paint job with your home with Nashville Painting Company. They're the best at what they do. It's as simple as that. Nashville Painting Company has been around for almost a decade now, and at Nashville Painting Company, I know for a fact that they do the job the right way because they've painted my house. Not in Nashville. In Birmingham. Jeremy was in Birmingham before he got to Nashville, and he moved on up as I have, and now Nashville Painting Company is born. Local, and I appreciate keeping my money locally. And, oh, by the way, it's time to talk about one of the essential features of your home this summer, your deck. From grilling to chilling, there's nothing like spending time with the family and friends all summer long on your deck. So through June, save $500 off your deck staining or repair. Your deck staining or repair, you can save $500 when you book a full exterior project. Save that $500 on your deck. Just ask them about it online, NashvillePaintingCompany.com. Schedule your free home consultation. The Nashville Painting Company, the painters you can trust. It's 615-635-0350.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 73 degrees, a cloudy day. We got a slight chance for some more thunderstorms today, with Friday and the weekend having the chance to dry out a bit. Full weather forecast in just a couple minutes. This just in here in Tennessee, 3 envelopes with a white powdery substance were sent to Tennessee GOP lawmakers at the Cordell Hull building in Nashville. What is in the envelopes is unknown. The offices that received the envelopes were evacuated. Everyone else inside the building has been instructed to not open any mail. The FBI is also responding to the scene. Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton made a statement today on it saying, quote, "I am aware of a possible issue involving the legislative office of some members of House Republican leadership receiving in the mail a white powder substance. The 6th floor has been placed on lockdown out of an abundance of caution, and hazmat teams are on the scene assessing the situation," end quote. Now over to some more breaking news. This is on the Titan. OceanGate has confirmed that the 5 passengers on board the missing sub, quote, have been lost. The U.S. Coast Guard now says it's found a debris field on the other side of the Titanic that's going to be examined to see if it's part of the OceanGate submersible. And earlier, a crew from Canada, this was yesterday and into even the day before, they said they heard, quote, banging sounds underwater. Gio Benitez says that Americans weren't confident that those had anything to do with the OceanGate submersible.
There are strong currents down there, and there's a lot of metal down there, and things are moving around all the time. So you would imagine that any sounds of banging could potentially have come from the Titanic itself because it's so close by. Or perhaps all of the boats and rescue operations and machinery that is now in the area conducting this search, because sound travels so much better through water than it does through the air.
Now over to some real estate news. More people buying homes across the country. The National Association of Realtors says sales of previously owned homes rose 0.2% in May compared to April, but sales are down more than 20% compared to a year ago. And e-cigarette sales, there's been an explosive growth in the sales of these e-cigarettes over the past 2 years, driving the growth, the favors that appeal to young people. Here's Dave Packard.
The popularity of e-cigarettes growing at an alarming rate. The Centers for Disease Control finding e-cigarette sales rising nearly 50% from the start of 2020 to the end of 2022. A CDC report noting that during that period, there was an increase in the sales of fruit and candy-flavored e-cigarettes, despite FDA efforts to restrict sales of flavors that appeal to kids and teenagers. There was, however, a drop in sales during the latter half of 2022, which may be connected to local and state restrictions on flavored tobacco products.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy, and I want to spend a moment with you talking about those that cannot speak for themselves. We are coming up on the one-year anniversary of overturning Roe v. Wade. And let's take a moment to recognize that over 64 million babies, their lives have been taken at the hand of abortionists and abortion doctors. Now, we pray for all of the mothers that still mourn for children, and we hope to save as many children as we possibly can. And Preborn does that through a simple premise, through love, that if you show love and compassion to mothers and you offer the opportunity for those mothers to see the ultrasound and to see their babies and to watch their babies breathe, then mothers choose life. It's an amazing connection being made through ultrasound. Every day, Preborn's networks of clinics rescue 200 babies' lives, offering love, support, and compassion to hurting mothers. Would you consider donating just $64 to honor the precious lives lost and to keep babies' lives of those at risk safe? $64 could go toward 2+ ultrasounds. Go to preborn.com/Matt. That's preborn.com/Matt. I encourage you to do this today. Rest assured 100% of your tax-deductible donation goes towards saving babies and saving mothers. Also proud to note that Dan Steiner, the president of Preborn, will be with us next week for a get-together in studio, and I'm excited about that. It's preborn.com/Matt. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, underway for another hour. We're here till 3 o'clock. We hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson at that time. And I'm excited to spend this hour with you. We've noted a couple of times that it is our episode 365. I've been keeping count. That is the show number. And that means that for the time that we've spent together, we've now made it a calendar year of shows in Nashville on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and they said it wouldn't last. Bell K's been a part of just about every one of those when he's not off gallivanting. I don't know what he does when he's not here. Sleep, more than anything.
I do a lot of that.
Play with his cats.
Do a lot of that.
Almost said that another way, and I would have not made it to 366.
You would not have.
But Bell's behind the glass, headless Bell, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as possible. You just heard from Mac Morey. We'll hear more from him in a moment. I have a Mac Morey, Matt Murphy. I have a Quad M Challenge coming up. The Quad M Challenge. And I'm excited about it. I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you. So that is on the way as soon as we finish off speaking with Representative Scott Sapicki. Now, Scott, apparently the lockdown has ended in the Cordell Hull building. If you're just joining us, perhaps just to your radio or to your platform of choosing, maybe you're streaming us at your office, or perhaps you're watching us on Talk TV. We appreciate all of those platforms. Talk TV, by the way, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. You can involve yourself in Talk TV at the F&M Bank chat room when you go over to Talk. And it's all the platforms. You can chat on each one of those, and they'll appear right there on Talk TV. So, Scott Sapicki was scheduled to be here at 1, could not because he was locked down at Cordell Hull. And we asked him to come on via phone, and apparently around the time that we were asking that, they released them from their lockdown. There were suspicious packages found addressed to GOP lawmakers from what were described as, I'll just read you the article from WSMV television. Tennessee House Republicans received threatening letters containing an unknown white powder on Thursday, according to Press Secretary Jennifer Easton. Easton said the letters contained threats made by, quote, liberal activists, specifically targeting Republicans. The 6th floor of the Cordell Hull building on lockdown, Homeland Security and first responders investigated the incident. All other employees and members in the building are safe. And the offices the envelopes were delivered to were evacuated. Other offices and people inside the building were instructed not to open their mail and to stay in their offices until further notice. We will get the update from Representative Scott Sapicki himself, and that update is expected to be forthcoming as soon as he makes his way to our offices. We're not far from Cordell Hull, so he should be here momentarily. In In Scott's absence, we invite you to be a part of the show, 615-737. You know, I note this before I give it up, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. I want to say something about our friends on the left who claim to love democracy but don't seem to love democracy that much when it doesn't go their way. I see you popped up over there, Mac Moore. You got an update over there, or are you just chiming in?
This is on the missing submersible. We do have some breaking news.
Yeah, I know that the officials with the Coast Guard held a press conference. What do you got?
They have, well, first off, Ocean Gate came out and it said that they believed that all 5 people aboard are believed to be dead. And the Coast Guard has confirmed that the debris that was found earlier today, they believe that is from this missing Titanic tourist sub.
Yeah, so you put 2 and 2 together, and we'll wait for the official confirmation here, but here's the deal. The submersible had been used quite a few times. There were warnings, according to people who used to work for the company. There was one gentleman that yesterday came out and said that he warned the CEO of the company that the submersible might have in its carbon fiber shell might have some hidden cracks. I mean, similar to the way that the stresses of air flight would eventually cause fissures in the structure itself. There was some concern about that, and there was a suggestion that we should be X-raying the craft, and apparently that guy got fired eventually, and he claims he was fired because he brought these things up. He was almost a whistleblower of sorts, but that fell on deaf ears. There has also been quite a bit of conversation since the craft was lost Sunday that, by the way, backing up for a moment, by a show of hands, how many knew that this was going on? I had no idea this was going on. Did anyone know that there were tourists going to the Titanic? I didn't know that. I mean, I seem to remember a debate like 4 or 5 years ago about whether or not we should allow that, because ultimately that's the grave site of, thousands of people, or, certainly hundreds of people. I guess many of the dead had already donned life jackets and they froze to death in the ocean, but many, especially third-class passengers who were at the bottom of the ship, could not or were prevented from getting to the top of the ship at the time that the ship was going down. Anyway, it is a grave. It is a mass grave. And so I remember the debate, but I don't remember these tourism submarines starting. I can't imagine that there is more than this one. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But the CEO of the company was found to have cut corners in a lot of different and significant ways that made some uncomfortable with the submarine or submersible. And there's been tremendous speculation about that as well. Well, what appears to have happened, this occurred some 1 hour and 45 minutes into the trip. The trip from the surface to the Titanic was about 2 hours. Apparently, round trip, it was 2 hours down, roughly 2 hours of sightseeing to see what you could see with the Titanic down there, and then another 2 hours back up. So altogether 6 or 7 hours of total time. 1 hour and 45 minutes into the trip, they lose contact. You feel that they have to be near the Titanic at that point. Apparently, it was found about 1,600 feet from the Titanic wreckage, and they're describing, the Coast Guard currently describing, as a matter of fact, take this, Bell, if you don't mind. It's on right now. We might as well let him. Titan debris found 1,600 feet, very close from Titanic wreckage itself.
As swiftly as possible to the area. Was any help turned away, as some lawmakers have criticized the government?
This was a incredibly complex operation, and we were able to mobilize an immense amount of gear to the site in just a really remarkable amount of time, given the fact that we started without any sort of vessel response plan for this or any sort of pre-stage resources. And so the equipment that was brought on site this morning that we were using was a pelagic ROV capable of operating at 6,000 meters, cameras, sonar, other articulating arms and resources on it. And it's, we had to transport it here through C-17 aircraft. This is 2 aircraft that it took to get this up here. And so we've really had the right gear on site and worked as swiftly as possible to bring all of the capabilities that we had to bear to this search and rescue effort. And it was just a huge international and interagency effort to make this happen. So I'm really grateful for all of the responders that came out to support this and really search for the vessel. It is a difficult day for all of us, and it's especially difficult for the families, and our thoughts are with the families today. But this was an immense support, and we had the right gear on the bottom to find it. So thank you.
All right, so there's a lot going on there. We'll continue to monitor that as the officials with the Coast Guard continue to update us on the debris field found some 1,600 feet from the Titanic. I don't know the exact figure of number of individuals never recovered from the ocean or the ocean floor, but if you consider the side of the Titanic to ultimately be a grave site, then you are adding 5 souls to those graves. One quick note on the super text line, when the question comes up of whether or not people should be allowed to traverse this part of the ocean. I mean, these are international waters after all. And someone said the Titanic is a graveyard and should not be disturbed. But we're allowed to walk through graveyards, aren't we? I mean, you can sightsee in graveyards. I do it. I mean, older graveyards are kind of a macabre pleasure of mine.
Well, plus people go in all the time to put flowers on relatives' graves and just visit the site.
Yeah, a little bit different. I mean, it's just interesting. People perceive the concept of going to the Titanic differently than they do if I told you I like going into old cemeteries to look through the graves.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing to say that they aren't being respectful as well, is the point. All right. I assume that Representative Scott Spickey has cleansed himself. We'll find out together. It's 2:18 on Super Talk 90.7. He's in studio, and we'll talk about the adventure of Cordell Hull in just a moment. Efficient Heating and Cooling wants to talk with you. Jeff Eddy wants to see you. Have you gotten the maintenance done on your AC? Well, I encourage you to do it during the spring, but now comes the hot season, right? Now comes the hot zones, and with the hot zones comes that AC, and it's operating a little more often, and sometimes that can put a strain on your unit, especially if it's getting a little up in years. If you feel the need to replace or repair, if you think it's not working as it should, if you believe maintenance is in order, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. You'll be happy you did. They're a small company with big service and big results. Let me tell you, you don't wait. They get to you. They never charge you overtime. That is a commitment that Jeff Eddy's has had for a long, long time, and certainly since I've been in Nashville. They also offer free financing on your next unit if the time has come, and they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. I trust them in my house. You can trust them in your house as well. And here's the deal. Jeff Eddy has carved out a niche of being the go-to guy when it comes to second opinions because someone tells you that your AC's shot, don't necessarily believe that. Get a second opinion with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. See if he can't breathe some more life in that unit for the next couple of years. Give him a call today or online, efficienthvac.net, 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient.
Some breaking news on the Titan Submersible. We take a look at a local lottery winner, plus Scott Sapicki in-house right now talking about what's going on at Cordell Hull building. We'll have all that and more coming up. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, I failed during that break to get Scott Sapicki some headphones, so he's flying earless. No, that won't work. But you're fine. Everybody can hear you fine. You look great. You're there on Talk TV. I'm going to hit this button just in case Bell forgets. Yeah, see there, I got the button, Bell. Don't you worry about it. I'm master of my domain.
It looks like Bell, but it's a mere shadow of the Bell I used to know.
I mean, have you not seen him for a while?
Is he?
He continues to.
Has he got a modeling gig now or something?
Yes.
Yes. See, I can't hear you.
He said yes. Yeah. Oh, there he goes. He's going. Now we've shamed him. So, hello, Representative Scott Sapicki. How are you?
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
It's been an interesting day.
I'm certain it has. By the way, I questioned Bell while he gets you headphones. I don't want to get into anything serious till you get them, but I questioned Bell as to why he won't be on Talk TV.
For the record, I have no shame.
Oh, he's on Talk TV right now. You're on right now. I questioned him, and I said, man, you've lost 60 pounds. And I've got a working theory that he would have to beat the women off with a stick if he was on Talk TV.
Well, the question you have to ask is, and especially Dan, if you're dealing with half the man, do you pay him half the salary?
They were already doing that.
Half of nothing is nothing.
You heard that, right? Yeah, you heard that one. Scott, it's been a crazy day. So we originally had you slated for 1 o'clock to talk about education. You called us a little before and said, not going to make it. What happened over there?
So sometime today we had our mail delivery on the 6th floor, and I'm on the 6th floor. And shortly after that, we were told to stay in our offices, don't leave. There's been some envelopes delivered to the speaker's office and the majority leader's office, and there's some powder in them. They don't know what it is. One of the envelopes was opened up, and so it shut everything down. And not knowing what it is, they had to close Cordell Hull and cordon off the whole area. You have to take precautions. The fire department responded. Hazardous material people responded right away. And literally, I just walked out of here probably about 10 minutes ago that they gave us the all clear. But some envelopes were sent to the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader, and they take these things very seriously.
I understand there's things you can get into and things you can't get into. Was there anything that was with was there a message?
Yes.
And can you get into the message?
No.
That's in the hands of the authorities.
That's correct, yeah. And they're going to do, TBI will probably take over and do the background here and try to figure out who it came from.
Can you give us a sense of, immediately I speculate that this has something to do with Covenant School, the subsequent disruptions that happened in the regular session, the governor's call for a special session. That drew national attention to the state of Tennessee. Is it fair to say that this has something to do with all of that?
Could be a related topic.
Now, with that in mind, you and I have talked about, we just mentioned it off air about risk-reward analysis. Mm-hmm. Life is about risk-reward. You decide to skydive because of the reward of the natural, good, solid adrenaline rush that you get from skydiving if you choose to do something like that. It's all about that. There's obvious risks involved in the special session based on some of the outside groups that have come into the state of Tennessee or stated their purpose to come into the state of Tennessee during the summertime to disrupt the special session. You know of these risks. You know of these types of groups. You've talked to us about a lot of these stories. Is there a reward with the special session right now? Is there anything that can be done?
Well, if the special session yields a good conversation about the status of mental health in Tennessee, about the process people go through in finding mental health help, making sure that we have adequate facilities for all of these people that are experiencing it. Matt, when you've got less than 1,000 state beds for mental health inpatient, and you had over 1.5 million Tennesseans tap mental health help last year, those numbers don't work. If that's the conversation that we're getting into, can you have that conversation in a special session? Yes. Can you have that in a hearing of discussing the positive things forward? Yes. Can you have that in January in a conversation in the committee system? Yes. Risk reward. is it beneficial for us to have the special session? The Governor Lee, he has the authority to call us in. And if he calls us in, I will respond. I will be there and I will do the people's work. But we have to make sure, number one, is we're not reactionary, because that's always bad legislation. You've been around us for a long time. Reactionary or emotional legislation is usually bad legislation. If we can get to the root of the cause of why we're there, and honestly, I'm telling you, I'm struggling without that manifesto and toxicology report and testimony from law enforcement, testimony from mental health professionals, and testimony from medical doctors on the toxicology report to understand what was going on in this insane individual's mind, and then cross-reference that with what the policies and procedures we have. I'm shooting in the dark, Matt.
So considering the meetings that were clandestinely recorded and reported on by the Tennessee Star, leftist organizations planning on, protest, which is fine, but they went further to talk about, agitation and disruption and shutting down the special session. Considering today's activities and the possibility of those being related to all of this, do you believe the special session has too much of a target on its back right now?
Well, I think the trouble we're going to have is being able to maintain security for the people that are there, both inside and outside the Capitol, Matt. That's a problem. Now, to get into Cordell Hull or to get into the Capitol, you go through metal detectors. But to walk around the Capitol or walk around Cordell Hull, you don't have to go through metal detectors. And there are going to be people on both sides of the spectrum, right? Those that want drastic changes to gun laws, and those that don't want any changes to gun laws outside the Capitol in close proximity to each other. The
tinderbox.
Yes, and we know that the people on the gun ownership are normally probably going to have guns.
Yeah.
And we know now the people who oppose those are going to have guns. I think it's the risk reward. Is it going to benefit the state of Tennessee and the people of Tennessee, or is it more beneficial for us to pivot and look at maybe the governor convening hearings to talk about mental health, to talk about the facilities, to talk about the policies and procedures?
Before we go to the news, which we have to go to right now, and we'll keep Scott Sapicki over for another segment, it occurred to me that I didn't ask you something. Are you okay? Is everything all right with you?
Oh, I'm fine.
I mean, you're good? You received no weird mail?
No, nothing. Well, that I'm aware of.
Right.
But I'm a pretty benign legislator.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to up your threat game.
Whatever. Benign. I don't think Sapicki's benign at all. All right, we'll continue the conversation with Scott Sapicki in just a moment. We've got news coming up right now. It's The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.231, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Possible thunderstorms later tonight. Full weather forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. Right now, 73 degrees. So 3 envelopes were received in the mail today at Cordell Hull building. They were sent to the Tennessee Speaker of the House and Tennessee Majority Leader. The substance inside the envelopes still not known. Part of the building was evacuated. The FBI responded to the scene. Hazmat crews were also deployed. Tennessee Representative Scott Sapicki came on the Matt Murphy Show and discussed what happened.
Sometime today, we had our mail delivery on the 6th floor, and I'm on the 6th floor. And shortly after that, we were told to stay in our offices, don't leave. There's been some envelopes delivered to the Speaker's office and the Majority Leader's office, and there's some powder in them. They don't know what it is. One of the envelopes was opened up, and so it shut everything down. And not knowing what it is, they had to close Cordell Hull and cordon off the whole area. You have to take precautions.
Sapicki said there was a message involved but could not disclose what was in it, but said that it could be related to the Covenant School shooting and the subsequent special session called by Governor Lee. Some breaking news on the Titan. OceanGate has confirmed that the 5 people on board the submersible are believed to be dead. Search crews found debris earlier today, 1,600 feet from the Titanic wreckage site, and the Coast Guard has now confirmed that the debris is from the Titanic tourist sub. And at the press conference today, the Coast Guard described what happened to the vessel as a, quote, catastrophic implosion. And here in Tennessee, the lottery says it was the right place at the right time and the right purchase right here in Middle Tennessee.
Someone who bought a lottery ticket in Donaldson is $50,000 richer. The lucky ticket in last night's Powerball drawing was purchased at Discount Tobacco Outlet on Lebanon Road. The current estimated Powerball jackpot is $427 million for the next drawing on Saturday. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems has been a sponsor of the Matt Murphy Show for the better part of a year and a half. You know, we're on episode 365. That means we've done a calendar year of shows now, and Brink's been a part of just about every one of those. I had the great opportunity to sit down, break bread with Brink, and talk to him about the genesis of Defend Systems. Brink spent years in the Metro Nashville Police Department, and after years in that and seeing how you break into stuff and seeing the damage that the bad guys can do to a facility or a school or a church, he decided to create Defend Systems because we are a dangerously developing world, and they are a life safety and security consultation firm right here in Middle Tennessee, and they help save lives. They helped save lives last March, and they can help you develop an action plan in the unlikely event that you find an active shooter on your property, that you find a workplace violence situation that is broken out. God forbid that should happen to you, but if it does, hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained with Defend Systems. Rapid response, all customized to your facility. Reach out today at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or defendsystems.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to defendsystems.com. It is McGill's world-famous Glock store located on Airlane Drive right off of Elm Hill Pike. You've heard me talking about McGill's world-famous Glock store. You need to get over there. What are you waiting on? Now, I encouraged you ladies to give your guy a gift card or gift certificate or something from the world-famous Glock store. Now, gentlemen, I'm telling you that it's time to do something for yourself. I mean, after all, June is Men's Health Month, and what is better for your health than firing a couple of rounds downrange at the incredible Shoot 270 areas provided by McGill's world-famous Glock store. And I don't say lanes because they don't have lanes. They have rooms. I mean, literally, you rent a room. And when you get trained, you are doing yourself a favor. And you're really completing the circle when it comes to your right to self-defense, to keep and bear arms. It's one thing to buy it, and that's a big step. It's another thing, and equally, if not more important, than understanding how and when to use it. And that's what they treat you at Shoot 270. So go to shoot270.com or glockstore.com and stop by, say hello to them. And when you do, tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to McGill's world-famous Glock store. All right, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We are joined in studio by Representative Scott Sapicki about, 2 hours ago, less than 2 hours ago. We were alerted to the fact because Scott was planning to come over and be with us at about 1 o'clock. And Scott called in and said, can't go anywhere, locked down. And there was an incident that we're discussing at Cordell Hull. I should note, programming note, that Brian Wilson, who's coming on in about 20 minutes or so, will have another person that I believe was in the facility, or at least one of these letters I think went to his office, and that's the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, will join Brian at just after 3 o'clock, after the top of the hour news. So be on the alert for that and keep it right here as we continue to cover this this incredible story. I want to circle back to it because there might be people that are just joining us. How did you were in your office?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, we were having meetings.
How'd you find out about it?
The chief of staff came down. We were in a meeting talking about growth in Tennessee and trying to find more revenue for our counties to be able to figure out how to manage the growth. And there was a knock on the door, and it was the chief of staff saying, hey, I need to talk to you guys. And there was Senator Hensley, Representative Capley, Representative Carr, and myself, and we stepped outside, and they gave us a lowdown on what happened with the envelopes, and they said, just stay put.
Okay.
So we stayed put and kept continuing with our meeting, and then they came down and said, nobody can leave.
And what you can say about the nature of that, maybe Cameron will have a little bit of additional information because it went to his office, but 2 letters, one addressed to the Speaker and one addressed to the Majority Leader?
That's what I understand, but I'm sure the Speaker will shed more light on that.
And we know that it was a white powdery substance. Did you get any indication from hazmat or officials on the scene whether or not they were able to test that, or is that still to come?
Couldn't tell you. Maybe the Speaker will be able to fill in the blanks there. I'm assuming because they let us go, they felt we were safe.
I'm sure they deloused you before you came into my presence, right?
What's the point? What's
the point of that?
Well, I was about to
you delouse after the interview.
I was about to say I was about to do my own punchline going, because I know you get deloused after you talk to us on a day-to-day basis.
You guys.
If, and I understand that there's only so much you can say about the nature of the notes. Should this be a factor in whether or not we have a special session? I mean, the risk-reward question that I asked you, if it is determined that this is linked to that subject, and I'm counting heads, Scott, and let's forget about the House for a moment, because I understand that the governor has 26 yes votes in the form of the Democrats.
24.
I'm sorry, 24 yes votes.
Let's not give them any more seats they don't have.
And I've been told by people in the know that there are probably some unexpected Republican yeses. But let's forget about the House for a minute. I mean, even if he can get somewhere in the neighborhood of a majority, and I don't think that he can, with anything resembling an order of protection, you know a lot of these senators. You were just me. It's DOA over there, isn't it?
Well, I think if you start mentioning anything that looks like or smells like any type of gun legislation, it's dead on arrival. That's my gut feeling from talking to members. The Senate will do what the Senate's going to do. We function independently from them. I think if you want to have a conversation, and this is the big rub, Matt, is if you want to have a conversation on mental health and making sure that people have the resources available to them, I think that's a valid discussion, because you know as well as I do, not only in our society but in our schools, since COVID, we have a huge mental health problem with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're going home for a year and a half by themselves was not a good thing to do for them. And so we know we got a lot of kids there. We have to make sure we have the resources available. And Governor Lee, a couple years ago, we passed a mental health trust fund to put $200 million available for people to draw down for establishing mental health facilities. I think if that's the conversation we were going to have, then I think you'll have an ear to listen to. The problem is, Matt, is the people who want this special session, let's just call them the left, right? The radical left, who want the gun control, who want to take away guns, right? Anything we do short of that, they're going to be upset with.
Well, and I had, and I was told that it was, it's permissible for me to divulge. I mean, I had a conversation with some of the governor's folks and just kind of getting a background as to what the governor's mindset was. And I think we moved the ball down the road to potentially have the governor on my show just after, sometime in July perhaps, to discuss this openly with the people of Tennessee in advance of the potential of a special session. And I came away at least believing that the governor is heartfelt, even if I think that maybe he's misguided in the direction that he's going, if it's an order of protection. But I was wondering, what the impetus for this was, where in the face of the no votes that I see in the legislative process. I mean, what the purpose was. And what I was told was that the governor feels compelled to get together with the legislative body and to openly discuss if there is something, and that he was open to anything, that it was not. And I was told this on numerous occasions, and I won't go into specifics because I said that I wouldn't, but that this is not about order of protection. This is about what can we, if anything, do as elected leaders to prevent something like Covenant. And that's genuine. I think that's heartfelt. But I don't know that the answer isn't nothing. I don't know that the answer isn't we've got laws on the books to temporarily put people in a position where they can get mental help.
Correct.
And if you do that, you're taking away a lot of their rights, including the right to possess a gun.
And if you procure a gun illegally, there's laws for that.
Right.
And if you use it illegally, there's laws for that. We have hundreds of laws on the books, Matt, to address these issues. Is it a matter of the ability to enforce, implement? And I believe this is true. I don't think we know who the psychologist was who was treating the victim still. So,
agreed.
Right. So there are many things we can look at. The question is, do you need to put the laser focus of not the General Assembly and the governor, not the state of Tennessee, but I think you would agree with me here, on August 21st, all people of the country are going to be targeting and looking at Nashville of this is a battleground that they want to fight.
There is a general feeling on the part of people, and I won't even say the governor's office in this concept or question, but there's a general feeling on the part of people that want to try to do something, whatever that might be, that if you allow this to get into January, and this is, I think, part of the reasoning by the governor. I'm speculating, but I think that's the case. You get into January, it's a regular session. There's lots to do in the regular session. Lots of things can take the legislature's attention, and it's an election year. And, I mean, do you fear that this could get lost in that, or do you fear that the legislature could, if you are able to do anything, can you focus down on it? Or between now and then, is there something that you can do between now and January instead of a special session that might get us closer to an answer?
We've had that discussion with some members of the House, and we feel a lot more comfortable that if the governor, and it's his purview, I'm not telling the governor what to do, but if he could possibly pivot to where we convene hearings to let people come forward, experts, right? And look at the system we have right now and explain to us the shortcomings of it. We had a meeting for over 2.5 hours, some legislators and myself, with the Department of Mental Health. And Matt, I could still be asking questions. That's how complex the issue is. And normally when we go into special session, we're in and out in 3 or 4 days. what meaningful conversations are we going to have in 3 or 4 days about major, and I'm talking major legislation that we have to make sure that, number one, we don't infringe on anybody's constitutional rights, knowing that you have a group of people that want us to do as much as we can to infringe on people's constitutional rights, with another group up there that's saying, don't you dare infringe upon my constitutional rights. This is potentially a powder keg that we, in my opinion here, and I do applaud the governor. He needs to come on, in my opinion, you or whoever, and explain to the people of Tennessee what he's thinking, because my constituents back home, who I represent, are telling me don't do anything.
I think, and I'm not speaking for him, and I would not divulge specifics of an off-the-record conversation that I had with his staff, but I think they want, and at least based on what I'm hearing, they want to give a little bit of time. He's announced his intention. Mm-hmm. And I think the idea is to give people like Scott Sabicki time to talk to your folks and to see where your folks are at on it. I applaud that. Mm-hmm. I think that's good. I just don't know that the governor is getting the answers that he might want, because I think the answers around the state of Tennessee are an emphatic rights are rights and should only be infringed upon for extreme and extenuating circumstances. And the government has not demonstrated any sort of extreme or extenuating circumstances to pick certain rights that you're going to temporarily or otherwise take away from the people of Tennessee. That's what your people are telling you, right?
Yes. And I think if you want those conversations to happen, and I have them, we have a Republican Party meeting back home, and I talk with people on the street all the time. And, Matt, they're coming up and telling me, no, nothing.
Yeah, you don't have to say a word, right?
Right.
They come to you.
Right. And I'm like, so if that's what we tell our leadership in the executive branch, right, then they have to respect that. And why would you put us in a situation? Why would you put your General Assembly in a situation where it's going to make people upset with what we do?
All right, real quick, and then I want to ask you quickly in the couple of minutes we have about the original topic you were going to talk about, was education.
Good stuff in education.
So if based on what happened today, mm-hmm. and I don't want to minimize what happened, it's serious.
Yes.
Does this bring us closer to a special session, further away from a special session, or does this affect that call at all, in your opinion?
I think, to be fair, I think I'd probably let the speaker handle that, because he's going to have more information than I will.
Okay.
I was on the other end of the hallway.
Okay.
I think, to be fair to him, I think that's up to him. I'm going to err on the side of my constituents, because that's who sends me up here. That's the way this republic works.
All right, tell me where we are on the state of affairs when it comes to education.
Fantastic news. The summer school is going on right now.
Uh-huh.
I visited Bradley County, Rutherford County, Marshall County. I've got Lewis, Giles, Murray County, and Davidson. And the teachers that are teaching summer school, English language arts and math, they're also teaching math. The kids are very engaged. There's some good stuff happening. I'm very positive and very excited to what's going to happen next year at the end of school year. To Matt, we could possibly be approaching 48 to 50% literacy rate. Now, I know that's not a great number, but from where we were 3 years ago in the low 30s to where we possibly could be, mm-hmm. we could be the fastest improving educational system in the country, which is, I wear my little pin about being number one in education. We're on the right path. The question we have that we're waiting to see next week, Matt, is what do the math scores look like?
Mm-hmm.
Did we sacrifice English language arts or sacrifice math
for English
language arts? And if that's the case, then we got to figure out how to solve that. But great work. I still do have some concerns about Davidson with that SRO bill, about not wanting to put SROs in elementary schools. That's got to get fixed.
All right, quick hitters. Would you eat lab-made meat?
No.
Would you go down in a submarine?
Wait, you just asked a cattle rancher if he would eat lab-made meat.
Yeah, but I asked the hard questions, Bell. This is the show that you come on. You expect some hard questions. Would you go down in a submarine?
If it was a military one, yes.
Okay, that's a fair answer. And thirdly, who do you think would win in a disc golf contest between Mac Maury and myself?
Mac.
No question. So here's Mac, real quick. Here's the challenge, Mac. Because I'm gone tomorrow. Here's the challenge. We play a round of golf, which you don't play,
Yep.
And then we play a round of disc golf, which I don't play. And then we compare the difference in scores each day. So whoever, you see what I'm saying?
I like this.
You like that? So we'll work on that for next week. Okay,
great.
And if Mac wins, he gets to host a show.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get to be the engineer.
I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll let you host a show if you win, because that's like a day off. So it's a double win. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that.
Vote Scott's a piggy.
Yeah, you know. I'm glad you're safe. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, man.
That wraps it up for us. Brian Wilson with Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, coming up in just a moment. It's 2:52 on Super Talk.